This year's Russian winter has turned from harsh to historic. And for millions, it's become unbearable. Temperatures across Moscow, St. Petersburg, and Siberia have fallen below -25°C, freezing entire neighborhoods into silence. Homes that once glowed warmly through the night now sit in darkness, their windows frosted from the inside. Across social media, desperate videos have emerged. Families wrapped in coats indoors, mothers boiling water on stoves to warm tiny rooms, and children sleeping beside ovens just to stay alive. The government blames technical difficulties in the power grid, but experts say this is no accident. It's the direct result of years of neglect and war spending. Since the Ukraine invasion, billions have gone into weapons, while pipelines, boilers, and infrastructure were left to decay. Now those same neglected systems are collapsing one by one. Old Soviet-era pipes burst under the pressure of freezing air. Entire power grids shut down for days. Hospitals are running generators to keep critical wards alive, and schools remain closed indefinitely. The bitter irony is inescapable. Russia, once an energy giant that powered half of Europe, cannot even heat its own capital. The freezing wind sweeping through Moscow's empty streets is more than cold. It's symbolic. It carries the voices of a people betrayed by misplaced priorities. As citizens huddle together in the dark, the contrast between military pride and human suffering grows sharper each day. What began as a weather emergency has now become a humanitarian catastrophe, one that no propaganda can hide from the world's eyes. How sanctions crippled Russia's infrastructure. When Western nations imposed sanctions on Russia, they targeted the heart of its economy: energy exports, machinery imports, and foreign technology. At first, Moscow's leaders laughed off the effects, claiming self-sufficiency. But as the months passed, the damage became undeniable. Russia's energy system, once efficient and internationally connected, now runs on outdated equipment and low-quality replacements. Spare parts for turbines, control valves, and heating systems once came from Europe. After sanctions, engineers were forced to rely on domestic products or Chinese alternatives that often fail under pressure. The result? Exploding pipes, short circuits, and widespread heating failures. Meanwhile, the Kremlin continues pouring funds into war efforts, leaving almost nothing for civilian maintenance. Economists estimate that Russia's infrastructure budget has dropped by nearly 40% since the war began, as the government struggles to balance its spending on weapons, propaganda, and soldiers' salaries. The blackout and heating crisis are not random misfortunes. They are symptoms of a system choking under its own weight. Experts warn that the situation will worsen as spare parts run out and technicians flee the country in search of better pay abroad. In short, the war's hidden price is being paid not by generals or politicians, but by ordinary Russians who cannot sleep through the night without freezing. The same government that promised strength now faces a nation too cold to believe in it anymore. The human side of the Moscow. Freeze behind every statistic in Russia's heating crisis lies a human story of fear, endurance, and small acts of kindness. In a quiet apartment block in Moscow's suburbs, an elderly woman named Elena sleeps beside her gas stove, lighting it every hour just to stop her hands from going numb. In another home, a young mother records a video of her children reading by candlelight, their breath visible in the cold air. Across the country, scenes like these repeat endlessly. For many, the crisis has become a battle not just against freezing temperatures, but against despair. Yet amidst the suffering, something beautiful is emerging: community. Strangers are sharing generators, bringing firewood, and delivering soup to the elderly. Volunteer networks have sprung up online, helping families in remote towns repair broken heaters. People have started calling themselves warmth soldiers, ordinary citizens fighting cold with compassion. Social media is filled with posts tagged "We will stay warm," symbolizing a new form of resistance. In a country often divided by politics, the cold has united hearts. Russia's crisis has stripped away illusion and exposed humanity's core. When the systems fail, people stand together. In the quiet darkness where machines no longer hum, the sound that remains is human, of voices whispering encouragement, of neighbors knocking on doors, and of hands reaching out through the frost. The political fallout of the freeze for years, Vladimir Putin built his image as a strong, unshakable leader, the man who could control not only politics, but even nature itself. But now nature is rebelling, and so are the people. As millions freeze in their homes, anger is rising against local authorities, and ultimately, the Kremlin. Citizens are openly questioning how billions can be spent on war while basic services fail. On Russian social media platforms, sarcasm has replaced silence. Memes mock the government with lines like, "We can heat Ukraine, but not our own homes." The regime's propaganda machine struggles to keep up. Regional governors are blaming each other, issuing hollow promises, while opposition figures use the crisis to reignite protests. Analysts say this could be one of the biggest domestic challenges to Putin's rule in years. Not because of politics, but because of pain. Hunger and cold can do what speeches cannot, awaken anger. The state's usual tool of fear doesn't work when people have nothing left to lose. Even within the Kremlin, insiders whisper about discontent. As one political observer put it, when Moscow freezes, Moscow remembers. The winter that Putin once used to break enemies abroad may now be breaking his image at home. Shock and sympathy from the world, the images of a frozen Moscow, once glittering with wealth and power, have shocked the international community. Global media outlets call it a freeze of consequence, linking it directly to Russia's war choices. Western analysts see it as proof that isolation works, while humanitarian voices call for empathy toward innocent civilians. The European Union, despite its tensions with Moscow, has expressed concern and offered technical help, which Russia mostly rejected. Ukraine's public response has been mixed. Some citizens see poetic justice in the situation, while others emphasize compassion for civilians, not politicians. International organizations like the Red Cross have begun preparing aid shipments, but political barriers delay their arrival. The heating crisis has turned into a mirror for the world, forcing everyone to see how war poisons everything it touches, from battlefields to bedrooms. Even nations neutral in the conflict, like India and Turkey, are quietly monitoring the situation, worried about economic and energy ripples. Moscow's darkness has become a global headline, a symbol that even powerful nations cannot escape the consequences of their actions. The cold wind now blowing through Russian cities is felt far beyond its borders. It's the chill of a world losing its balance. The Russian spirit refuses to break. Even in the cruelest winter, warmth finds a way. Across Russia, ordinary citizens are proving that humanity can survive where politics fails. Churches open their doors for families with no heat. Students organize coat drives for strangers. Volunteers deliver tea and firewood to those who cannot leave their homes. In small towns, neighbors share one working generator to keep a nursery warm. This crisis has turned ordinary people into heroes. Despite government silence, people are not giving up. In Moscow, locals have started lighting candles in windows as a sign of unity, a flickering sea of light that stretches across frozen neighborhoods. It's a message to the world. We are still here. This simple act has become a quiet rebellion against the cold, against despair, and against hopelessness. Even in frost, the Russian soul glows with strength. The crisis has stripped away illusions of power and revealed what truly keeps a nation alive. Not the government, not propaganda, but the will of its people. The Moscow freeze has become more than a tragedy. It's a reminder that when the lights go out, the human heart still shines the brightest.